Hey guys, welcome to the daily analysis for Tuesday. It is January 22nd, and it's pretty close to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time here. And so today I'm going to cover these daily bars. The main thing I want to cover is some of the reversal signs that happened in today's market, a little more movement than what we saw yesterday. And so the main thing really to cover is whether these reversals are going to continue and kind of break out of these current trends, or if they're just minor pullbacks within the midst of a major trend, and they're just going to continue actually after this pullback in the previous direction, like the US yen is a perfect example, as I have up here. So I'm going to cover several different pairs that have similar setups and talk about my personal opinion as to whether or not we're going to see some bounces or if we're going to see some breaks and continuation on these pullbacks. Okay, before we get into that, we'll cover our news and quickly our terms, and then we'll jump back into these charts. Alright guys, so for news, again, not a ton of major news tomorrow, that especially, the US dollar is typically the main news that I'm looking at, and there's not a lot of that. We have some pound news in the London session, which is definitely something to look at as we talk about the pound and the critical level it's at now. And then 10 a.m. is a lot of CAD news. So Bank of Canada is going to have some statements. There's overnight rate. There's a press conference a little bit later. So could be an interesting day for the Canadian dollar, certainly. So be careful with any CAD trades. But even though there's some stacked events there's really not a lot of different news coming out tomorrow to keep an eye on. So outside of the CAD, and then assuming that your trading starts when mine does after the London session, should be relatively quiet. Alright guys, and quickly just want to cover our terms, and the main point of the terms is just to let you know that this is for educational purposes only. These are just reflecting our personal views of the market and not to be taken as investment advice because we're not licensed or registered by any financial security authority to do that. Alright, so if you need to pause and read through those, please go ahead and do that. I'm going to move back into our technical analysis. Alright guys, so for the US yen, you can see that we had a pretty nice little two-bar pullback both into our trend line and also this horizontal support level that was recently built a little above 88. So this could be definitely a level for bouncing and continuation, and I am still holding a odd yen long, so hopefully the US yen is going to bounce along with the odd yen, and I think there's some pretty nice potential of that. Obviously the uptrend is very legitimate here. US yen has been moving up quite consistently through most of these major levels. Beyond 86, 87, 88, 89, every psych level that we might think it would slow down has pretty much continued right through. Now we're in a little bit of a channel because we've had some pullbacks instead of it moving straight up like it did down here. We're starting a little bit of a channel, so could see the continuation of this steep channel toward the higher prices. Really the major resistance area that up next is all the way up at 94. Now there are some other areas, of course, but really the major clustered area of resistance doesn't happen until 94.4 or somewhere in that area. So this US yen could potentially go a lot farther before we're thinking major reversal at a critical level. That's not to say that we could get pullbacks, that this could end up being a move and a pullback toward the 50 fib all the way down to 84 before moving higher. Obviously, the potential is there for the US yen to really go wherever it wants, and the US dollar has gotten weaker. If you look at the US index, the US is falling off to some extent. So it wouldn't be a surprise if the US weakened a little bit and this went lower. But overall, still a lot of bullish potential in the US yen. And those of you, maybe if you're holding along for much lower prices and trying to ride this thing out, just a two-bar pullback to this level would not scare me out of the trade quite yet. I'd be willing to hold, especially because this channel is pretty consistent, since it started, and no really reason to believe that it won't bounce right back up and continue this at this point. If we do see some breaks, if it breaks through here, closes below the 87.80 area, then we'll be talking about some reversal signs. But as of now, still looks like a minor pullback from the technical analysis point of view. Okay, euro dollar is still just kind of hanging out in the middle of this area here. Not really much to report. It is sitting, kind of on the top of this base here. These tails near 132.8. So we'll see what happens there. Maybe it could make another bounce toward 135 from this level. But as for me, it's still a matter of waiting until it comes closer to this trend line range anywhere in here that I'll be looking for buys. And so the euro dollar is one that I'm just kind of watching and admiring and not actually looking to make any trades until the price changes to a certain extent and gets closer to this trend line. Alright, so pound, obviously a very different situation than euro. We're kind of used to looking at them in a similar light, but lately been very different. The pound is struggling to break through this 158.3 area. This is a pretty strong level. You can see a little bit of area in here, and then if I zoom back a little bit, you can kind of see some more clusters of support here. So pretty big level there. Now below is the 157.5 or 157.4, kind of this whole zone actually, which is a very major level of support. So if the pound is going to turn, you think it either start moving up in this range between this channel, or certainly come down a little bit lower and then start its turn. If it does break through and continue, beyond 157, there's really nothing stopping it from hitting much lower prices. So that'll be a very interesting thing. I mentioned that the US dollar is weakening, so you'd expect that to maybe help this pound reverse. But the pound continues to be very, very weak. So one thing to look out for in the pound is kind of if it starts channeling what it does in this big range here, and if we see a reversal, because a reversal, could at least bring us all the way up to this trend line, perhaps talking about all the way to 163. So a reversal could really be as major of a trade profit potential as the breaks. Either way, a lot of room for the pound to move. And so this is definitely one that I'm tracking very closely, waiting for either a reversal sign, some momentum back to the bullish side, or a break below 157 to see if this thing's going to head toward much lower prices. Euro pound, still current price very close to major resistance around around 84.11, which is what current price is. Definitely an area to keep an eye out for. Price started rejecting pretty strongly earlier today, came all the way down. You can see that the bar came all the way down to here, but then ended up being pretty much a neutral day and coming to sit right here on the euro pound, right back at that level. So still nothing decided. We'll see if it breaks this level or comes lower to test again tomorrow. Some potential here either way, because a break of this level, this next major level, toward 84.50 and then above 84.50, means that we're really through the major levels in the current area, and that price could go way higher. Whereas a move lower, where it maybe closes actually at a decently lower price, could mean a pullback all the way back to this trend line. So again, the euro pound, similar to the pound dollar, has a lot of potential in both directions. Just a matter of seeing some price action to back that up, and obviously the sentiment as well. And the USDCAD is still kind of just hanging neutral, floating right around 99.20. You can see that price not doing much yet, but obviously breaking up toward parity is one thing that has some potential, and willing to wait on that to see if we get any continuation there. Definitely a good bar here recently, showing some momentum, but obviously with how weak US dollar was today, it was hard to make really up any ground against the other major currencies. So that's one that waiting on just to see if there's any more momentum to be had against the Canadian dollar. And there is major news tomorrow, so we'll see how the CAD reacts with all that news coming out about it. Okay, and I'll finish up here with the odd US dollar. I just want to point out again, drive this home, that we're still sitting in this range where price is not really making any specific directional move. Definitely a decent bullish day because the US dollar is weak, but until it breaks above 106 and shows some continuation, the odd is pretty much untradeable still. So unfortunately, if you're waiting to trade the odd like I am, there's still not much to be said there, but hopefully we'll get some continuation, we'll get a break, something will happen, and that thing will start moving again, and we'll be able to take advantage of it. So until then, looking at that channel, just waiting, and being patient with the odd as of now. Alright guys, so that's about it. I hope this analysis was helpful. I know that there's not a lot of things to be said, but the US yen, really all the yen crosses, whether they bounce or break lower, is a major thing of concern, and so that's certainly one that I want to continue keeping an eye on. And then also that pound dollar at a very critical area is another thing to watch for. So between those two situations, enough to keep us busy. Hopefully some of the other pairs will start moving, gives us some potential there, and we'll have a whole basket of trades that have some good options here in the near future. Alright guys, thanks again for watching. Be sure to share on Twitter and Facebook if you don't mind. Leave any comments. I appreciate Pete left a great comment about an indicator. Pete, appreciate the interaction, and I did respond if you want to check that out. And I'll talk to you guys soon.